Hello, I'm Julie Williams with Migration Down Under. I'm a registered migration agent with over 18 years experience, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the 457 program and the changes that have come in since the 18th of April 2017. So it's been just over a month now since the new changes have come in, and I'm going to be talking to you about that and the effect on people who have 457 visas pending, who are still yet to lodge an application, and who have currently got a 457. So the big news was, the 457 program has been abolished, but it hasn't been abolished. It's still in place, and it will be until March 2018. What it's being replaced with is the temporary skills shortage program, which will be rebranded and essentially very similar to the current 457 program. The lists, however, have been quite restricted, and the original consolidated skilled occupation list that we knew did become abolished on the 18th, 19th of April, and the new lists, the short-term list and the medium to long-term list, came into effect as of the 19th of April 2017. Now, how has that affected everybody, you ask? Well, those that are already current 457 visa holders and were prior to the announced changes on the 18th of April have no problems at all. There will be no changes, and these changes don't affect current 457 visa holders. Those that have pending applications and who had pending applications on the 18th of April, then they may or may not have been affected, depending on what your occupation is. So if your occupation was one that has been completely removed off the list, unfortunately for you, that is the end of the line as far as the 457 is concerned, because you won't be able to go further. If you haven't already withdrawn your application, the Department of Immigration will be contacting you to inform you of the changes and how it's affected you, and to advise you to withdraw your application, and a full refund of your government application fees will be made by the government. If you've used an agent, then unfortunately their consultancy fees won't be refunded if they've already lodged an application for you. Now, with some occupations where they have changed to the short skilled list, will be affected as far as the length or the validity of the visa. The visa for the 457 program will now no longer be automatically issued for 4 years. It will be a shorter visa for those on the short skilled list. You'll get a 2-year visa, and that will be able to be renewed for a further 2 years if you are onshore. Now, that does affect your ability to then move on to permanent residency, but I'll talk about that a little bit later in this session. Now, with those other occupations that are on the medium to long-term list, then you haven't been affected, and you'll continue to be issued with a 4-year visa and have a pathway to permanent residency. The lists will now be regularly updated. The Department of Immigration, in conjunction with the Department of Employment, are continually revisiting the lists to see what is relevant for the Australian labour market. What skills are there a shortage of, and whether it is a short-term shortage or whether it's a long-term shortage. And obviously, industry sectors that are reliant on particular occupations, they will also be no doubt lobbying the government and involved in some of that process as to whether an occupation will remain on the short list or be moved over to the medium to long term, or be removed entirely. So that's, I guess, creating a lot of uncertainty for everybody at the moment, because we don't know what's going to happen with the lists beyond July this year. So the list will be reviewed again in July 2017, and will be reviewed again in, I believe, at the end of the year. So it's going to be a 6-monthly renewal. Historically, it's always been on the 1st of July every year. The lists have been reviewed and updated, and very little movement has occurred in the past. But that's all going to change, and it will be reflective on how the current labour market is, and also have an influence from the type of applications are being put in and the number and the volume of certain occupations. So just be aware, if you're eligible now, lodge it now, because we can't guarantee what's going to happen in the future. We haven't been given any certainty of what will remain and what won't on the list. So they're going to be looking at, as I mentioned, a 6-monthly change, and they will be reviewing it again in March of next year, where there will be further reforms made to the what's going to be known as the temporary skill shortage program. So unfortunately, with a lot of applications for 457 where there's changes, it's often retrospective. So if you haven't got your visa granted at the time of these changes and it's still pending, then the changes will often affect you as well. It just won't affect those people that are already on a 457. Now, the big question is everybody talking about permanent residency and how it's going to affect their ability to be able to transition into permanent residency. It's still a little bit unknown. We haven't been given any certainty for those already currently on the 457. All I can tell you is clearly what is happening to people who were granted a 457 post the changes from the 19th of April this year. The changes, if you have been granted a 457 for 2 years, then you won't be able to transition into permanent residency after working for the one employer on a 457 for 2 years. There may be an option, if you're eligible and if you have a tertiary qualification, to possibly apply for direct entry, but it will be all dependent on your individual circumstances. There are those that are on the medium to long-term skill shortage list. At the moment, you could possibly still transition into permanent residency. Historically, it's always been after working with one employer in the same occupation whilst on the 457 for 2 years. That's looking to change, and that could be increased from 2 to 3 years. So where you could apply after 2 years, you may have to wait 3 years before you're eligible on the temporary transition stream. Once again, direct entry may be a pathway where you can have your skills assessed and apply under direct entry. But there's a lot of changes occurring with direct entry permanent residency as well. And from the 1st of July 2017, the 2 changes that we know will occur will be the age being reduced to under 45 for direct entry applicants. And so you have to be under 45 at the time of lodgement, not decision. And then the English language level for direct entry will be raised to a higher level than what it is at the moment. They are the only 2 changes we know of at this stage. The other changes that are going to be occurring in March next year will be those that are eligible for the temporary transition stream. The age will also be reduced to under 45 at time of application. How all those changes are going to affect those current 457 holders that have held those 457 visas prior to the changes announced on the 18th of April, we're not sure yet. With regards to processing times for the 457, they certainly have been affected as further integrity measures are being put in place, as well as the caseload that have had to be withdrawn. That's taken a lot of time away from the applications on hand. So you can expect a few delays until everything comes back on track. In regards to the 457. Now, if you've been affected with your occupation being removed or you're in an occupation you're not quite sure if that affects you, if you do want to find a list or any other lists, whether that be the short skilled list, the medium to long-term list, or the actual occupations that have been removed, you can find that on our website at migrationdownunder.com. Look, I'm sure I haven't covered all your questions just in this short video. So if you do have more concerns, questions, or would like some more information, please don't hesitate in contacting us. You can reach us on the telephone, which is always the best one, 0294195411. Otherwise, you can always send us an email at info@migrationdownunder.com. We look forward to helping you and hopefully being of further assistance. Thanks.